Hi everyone, my name is Sandiswa and welcome to Tax Shelter. In this channel, I simplify tax for small businesses and individuals. I also give out some tax tips on how you can pay as less tax as possible. If that's your type of content, then I'd really urge you to subscribe and maybe hit the notification button. Right, so today I'm going to be talking about tax tips you should know before filing your 2022 tax return. Now, the 2022 tax season started on the 1st of July and a whole lot of things are happening. So I'm going to give you some tips on how to survive this rumble and jungle. Now, individuals have been able to start submitting their income tax returns from the 1st of July, which is the 1st of this month. However, the due date for non-provisional taxpayers is the 24th of October 2022. In the past, the due date would be at the end of November. Now, it is important to take note of the fact that the due date is a month earlier this year, so which means that you have less time to submit your tax returns and just get compliant. Please take note of that. Very important. This is especially important because last year, SARS issued a warning that if you do not submit a single return, they will start issuing you with penalties. And the SARS issued this warning because in the past, you would have to be behind by at least 2 or more returns before SARS starts issuing a penalty. But all of that has changed now. Even if it's 1 return that's outstanding, SARS will start issuing you with penalties. Please also note that if you're a provisional taxpayer, then you have up until 23 January 2023 to submit your 2022 income tax return. Very important. SARS has also indicated that they will be continuing with auto assessments. It is important to note though that deadlines still apply to you even if you are auto assessed. This means that you need to accept or edit your auto assessment before the due date, which is the 24th of October 2022. Remember, if you choose to ignore your auto assessment, SARS will submit the assessment on your behalf and you will get an estimated assessment which is not subject to an appeal or an objection. I cannot emphasize this enough, guys. You don't ever want to find yourself in that position where you can't appeal or object to an assessment, which is why it is important for you to actually take the time and go accept your auto assessment. If you do not agree with your auto assessment, then you can file your own assessment within 40 days of being auto assessed. Remember, penalties for non-submission of income tax returns are between 250 Rand and 16,000 per month of non-compliance. The penalty that you will be issued with depends on your taxable income in the previous year. So it's very important to submit your income tax returns, guys, because you don't want those penalties accumulating. Because in the past, even though SARS was very lenient when it comes to writing off of penalties, they are no longer like that anymore. If you go to them and ask them to actually write off penalties, they need an exceptionally good reason for them to do that, or else they won't do it. And unfortunately, ignorance does not count as a reason anymore. So you need to make sure you get your ducks in a row. SARS has also published the criteria for all the people that don't need to submit their tax returns in this tax season. Now, before I tell you the criteria, guys, it is in my professional opinion, my advice that once you start submitting income tax returns, you continue regardless of whether or not you are required to submit. And the reason I'm saying this to you is because I've seen it so many times with clients in the past who 1 year they need to submit the returns and then the other year they don't need to submit. So they neglect submitting because they're not required to. But then what normally happens is the following year or years later, when they start, maybe they get a job and then they start submitting again, they find that the SARS system triggers all those returns that were not submitted. and then they become now required for submission for whatever reason. But that is a systemic error that is in the SARS system that at the moment no one can explain. But then I do advise people to actually, if you start submitting income tax returns, then don't stop. However, though, I'm still going to tell you the criteria. If you feel that you don't want to submit, then you can still not submit, and you are allowed to. The first thing is, if you received an income of 500,000 Rand or less, and you have one source of income, then you do not need to submit. But you must also note that you must not have any allowances. In other words, you must not have any travel allowance. Also, you must not have any medical aid, because those are all allowances that get, for instance, for medical aid, you get rebates. For travel allowance, well, you get a travel allowance, and most of the time you'll get a refund from the travel allowance. So if you are a person that receives 500,000 Rand or less from one source of income, and you do not have any allowances or deductions that you need to claim, then you don't need to submit. Right? For the people that receive interest, the threshold for interest at the moment is 23,800 Rand. So if you receive interest, but then that interest is less than the threshold, then you don't need to submit your return. Also, people who receive dividends from tax-free savings. Dividends are taxed on the hands of the company. So again, you do not need to submit a return if you live off of dividends. Also, people who were non-residents during the tax year are not required to submit. And the tax year I'm referring to is the tax year we're submitting for now, which is the tax year from 1st March 2021 to February 2022. That's the tax year that we are submitting for right now. So if you are a non-resident during that tax year, then you do not need to submit your return. Lastly, because of the pandemic, most people have been working from home. So if you are somebody that has been working from home and you are eligible to be claiming home office expenses, then do check out my video on home office expenses. It's very important, because last year SARS disallowed more than 60% of the home office claims, and it was not nice. And because there were so many home office claims, SARS also added some other requirements that they need. For instance, in the past, you were not required to actually send pictures, 360 pictures of your home office, but now it's one of the requirements if you are doing home office expenses. And I'm sure SARS did that in order to prevent people taking chances and claiming home office expenses when they were not supposed to be doing that. So please do check out that video. I'll see if I can put it in the description and also somewhere on this video. Lastly, if you found value in this content, then I would really appreciate it if you hit the subscribe button and also hit the notification bell. Thank you.